youngsters look like they're very similar age. They're feeding close to one another here. I'm guessing around 4 or 5 years old. Having a look at the one behind now, it looks like it's potentially a little bit bigger than that. But that would be my rough guess as to how old they could be. It's incredible how many elephants are around us, but at a glance you can't really count them too easily. The bushes are quite thick here, so they disappear incredibly easy in this vegetation, which is something to take heed of in case you are ever walking in the bush. And an animal as big as an elephant can somehow manage to disappear in this vegetation. Well, what I'm going to do is, there's a few outs in the clearing that are going to be easier to film, so let's head on out to those. We're nearly at that time of the year where elephants will be feeding heavily on the marula fruits, which will shortly start dropping from these trees. And they literally go from marula to marula in search of the fruits, which is great for our viewing purposes. Very entertaining watching them pick up each marula fruit individually and toss them into their mouth like little vitamin C tablets. Okay, just try and get the right angle here. This is beautiful, folks. Stand by for an incredible sighting. They've all come out now, and this is magical. Beautiful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and a few more in the bushes, so at least 20 that we can see now. Listen to that rumbling. Oh, some youngsters coming in here for a closer look, which is great. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I'm going to continue trying to stay in front of them. They're moving quite quickly. Not too much to feed on in this open clearing, so me. Because I haven't heard anything for a while. Sorry folks, I'm not doing a good job here, so let me try this one more time. Okay. Beautiful, they're coming right up to the vehicle now, folks. This is just such a good opportunity to do a little video with the GoPro. That is what I'm currently doing. Beautiful, folks, look at this. It really is so special when they're so tolerant of us. And when you see them out in the open like this, you can really get a good idea of their size perspective and the sizes between individuals in a herd. It's a lot more difficult when we see them in the thicker vegetation. Now I'm going to have another count because they're a lot more visible now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I would guess about 30 that are moving through here, which is really beautiful. It's probably the biggest herd that I've seen since I've been here. It could be 2 herds that have joined together, but difficult to tell. Peace and tranquility is what we have here. I really find it interesting watching what they feed on because they do have so many options and they are quite fussy. So to watch this many all feeding on slightly different things, one's feeding on the leaves of a marula tree, others are feeding on small little forbs and saplings that are popping up after all of the rains we've had so far. Speaking of rains, it's looking like it's clear for this afternoon for now. We really thought we were going to get a thunderstorm last night, but it passed. Oh, look at that youngster. Have you got that, Nadav? With the party hat on. You got it? Let's see if it's still wearing its party outfits. It had a small tuft of grass that it had perched on its head. Now its companion seems to be trying to do the same thing, but it has less control of its trunk. It takes them a while to gain full control of that trunk. It's got a crazy figure, something like 180,000 different muscle fascicles that all can be controlled individually, thus allowing them to twist and turn and contort that trunk however it may be required to do. Imagine if we used our noses for not entirely drinking, but as a straw with which you can use to pour water into your mouth, and also a tool, an extra limb with which you can feed yourself. It's a bizarre concept and not used by any other animals that I can think of in the animal kingdom. It's just the elephants that have this very, very fancy nose that allows them to do incredible things with it. This one's also got some party wear on, dressed up for the evening. They are just coming out of everywhere. In all directions, they are coming towards us, which is great. Here comes a big cow on the left, which is a beautiful specimen. Just to give you an idea how they have surrounded us, I mean, they are all over 360 degrees surrounding us. I'm just going to reposition the vehicle again to try and get another intimate walk past from them. A question's just come through from Jilly in New York. Good afternoon, Jilly, and welcome. Jilly's asking whether elephants stay in the same area. I guess, in essence, do they have territories or do they move throughout the park? And the answer to that is that they do not really have territories, and they do move freely through the Kruger National Park, which is a massive, massive reserve. It's 2 million hectares in total. So they've got a lot of space to move, and they're not territorial animals. The nature of their lives and the way they feed is so heavily on vegetation, they need to be allowed to move great distances, and that's exactly what they do. They move huge distances in search of food, and before Africa became as developed as it is now, these animals used to travel thousands of kilometers, elephant trails and routes that elephants were known to walk along for hundreds and thousands of years. But sadly, over time, these routes became cut off, and now they're constricted or restricted rather to smaller areas. But no, they may spend time for a short period of time, a couple of weeks or months in an area like this, and we may get to know them for a short period of time, but then in all likelihood they will move off eventually. Well, thanks for that question, Julie. It's quite interesting. There's a few of these youngsters that have all thrown grass and little pieces of foliage onto their back. Let me just reposition again, because they are moving quite quickly. But if you don't mind just trying to straight out that antenna and that whole setup there, that might be useful for us. And the GoPro. Yeah. There we go. What a magical sighting, folks. I'm going to try and get a little bit further ahead so we can give you a perspective of how many animals there are, and the dove will be able to pan across this herd. I mean, wow, look at this, folks. This is really something special. And the good news is we still have a considerable amount of this clearing ahead of them, so as you can see, they appear to be very happy feeding on whatever it is, these little shoots that they seem to be really enjoying. So what a wonderful way to spend the afternoon. This big female here showed us a little bit of aggression earlier. Now we can notice how her tail's kind of hold a bit horizontally, which does show that she's a little bit agitated, but nothing too serious. There are the two youngsters there with their outfits on. It's interesting, you wonder, obviously one saw the other one doing it and then got a little bit jealous and thought, well, let me try that out as well, it looks quite good. So interesting, the dynamics of these youngsters and how they obviously can watch and take notes of what their older siblings are doing, or young rivals, young companions. Not too different to us humans. One kid sees another kid with a toy or piece of clothing that they like, they may try and ask for the same thing. Now what would be interesting if these elephants came across a leopard up one of these marula trees, and these marula trees have certainly been home to many a leopard over the years. They've got so many choices of different marulas in this open grove, and marulas are the most comfortable of the trees for the leopards. It's interesting, they've just changed direction quite drastically. They were heading south and now all of a sudden they've turned west without us hearing anything. Now this could be an example of the way they can communicate infrasonically with one another and with other herds, audio and audible to the human ear. What a magic sighting. If you just grab the antenna at the base and tilt it, the antenna itself, so that it's level. Magical, folks, really magical. Now this female is straight in front of us. She's a big old female. You can tell from the size and the expression on her face and the dents in her forehead. The deeper those dents become is a good sign of age. And she does look heavily pregnant. You can see her stomach is abnormally protruding. And judging by the youngster that's following her, it looks like the right age gap of 3 to 4 years between giving birth before her next birth. So hopefully a new addition to this herd will be out shortly. Fantastic. So this could well have been parts of that same herd, or rather than a singular herd, congregation of elephants that were at Gowrie Dam earlier. So I'm glad we have got to show you a large herd of elephants, or possibly herds together. But it's so magnificent, especially to see them in this open clearing. You couldn't ask for a more picturesque place to see them. This is the same female that gave us a bit of attitude a bit earlier. Oh, sorry, this is actually a male. Forgive me, that is a male that's given us a bit of attitude. Okay, we can potentially get one more little flyby before they go into a thicket at the edge of this clearing. Let's try and enjoy the last few moments with them before they head off into the thick stuff. So, I'm going to go right to the edge of this clearing, and that way be able to view them for as long as we can. The dove, when we get stationary, just try and straighten that out as much as possible, the antenna. But just when it's stopped, because it keeps popping out of position. Well, I'm hoping that they're going to come and feed on this termite mound. You can't even see that it's a termite mound, but this small, oh, I just can see oh no, it's just dwarf mongoose. I thought it was a snake slithering through the grass, but it was a dwarf mongoose. But they may well come and feed on the vegetation growing out of this old termite mound. They do provide very good soil, aerated soil that vegetation does thrive on. So it'll be interesting to see if there's anything growing here that they like. Oh, all those youngsters seem to get a little bit worked up there or excited about something. I'm not sure about what exactly. I'm going to get my camera out. So I've been enjoying the sighting so much that I haven't even thought about my camera, but this is certainly worth documenting. I may even have to change lenses quickly to a wide angle, as there are so many of them. Folks, just to let you know, Mark is okay, but he is still having problems with his vehicle, so guys are working on it as fast as they can, and hopefully that'll be back up and running sooner rather than later. But he is okay. It's just that he doesn't have a vehicle that's operational, sadly. I'm going to reposition one last time, folks. It will be worth it. Just want to try and get one long stream of them coming straight towards us. Oh, this youngster is giving us a little bit of, oh no. Maybe this wants to catch up with its mom. Don't be alarmed, there is one very close behind us, you know, but it's okay. Beautiful. Okay, Joan from Indiana has just asked about their toenails, and yes, they are indeed toenails, just like ours, made out of keratin. Oh, sorry, Anne from Indiana, and yes, they are toenails, just like ours. I'd really love to be able to feel an elephant and really get to know what that skin feels like. There are places where you can do it, where elephants have been rehabilitated, but I have yet to feel their toenails. I had a close look at their feet, but it would be an incredible thing to feel. And well spotted there. Well folks, the sighting is coming to an end sadly, but jeez, we really have been spoiled. There's another big old cow walking right up to us now, which is going to be a great goodbye for us. She's exceptionally close and completely relaxed, which is how we tend to prefer their behavior. What I would like to do now is we can go and spend some time watching these dwarf mongoose. They're not going to be easy to see, but it'll be quite fun watching them scurry about on this little termite mound. And I thought the elephants may come and feed on the vegetation growing out of it, but they didn't seem to show too much interest in that. There's a little kind of fairly open Sharon Moses just asked a very interesting question, and she noticed that they were feeding on devil's thorn plants, and I'm not sure what could be in that devil's thorn plant that really is making it an attractive choice to them at the moment, but potentially some kind of medicinal values, certainly. But what is also important to remember, Sharon, is that depending on the time of year, different plants tend to invest their energy or move the energy that they've been storing up in their roots like a bank through the winter, and then all those nutrients that they've stored up they send up at a certain time of the year when it suits them for flowering or seeding. So it could simply be that all of these nutrients that were being kept in the roots are now being exported up to the leaves and the rest of the plants, and the elephants are simply intercepting them and not allowing them to be used any further for development of flowers and seeds. But well noted, and it will be interesting to see in 2 weeks' time, Sharon, what they are feeding on, because like I've kept on saying, they do feed on so many different types of vegetation, and you know, one type of vegetation will be appealing to them only at a certain time of the year. No, I don't know how the dwarf mongoose filming is going. In retrospect, it probably wasn't the best idea on my behalf because it is so thick. But are you having any luck there, Nadav?
You can just see spots here and there.
Okay, well, sorry about that. I apologize for that plan, which was probably not the best. You do find termite mounds that have got no vegetation on them with plenty of dwarf mongoose playing around, so that would have... So you wouldn't believe who's just sent through a tweet. Our good friend Hayden Turner, who's now back in England. And Hayden, good afternoon. I'm glad you're watching. Hayden said he's very envious of our Ellie sighting, but I guess he's also enjoying it from the comfort of his home. So Hayden, hello. Good to hear that you've made it back home safely. And I don't know if you've noticed, but the porcupine quill is out this afternoon. I was giving it a few days off after the hard work it had done for you and everyone else in the team. over Big Cat Week, but now it's perched in the front of Zanele. It's a new piece of her decor, and it has already brought us great luck. We started with these elephants, would you believe it? We opened up on them, and the porcupine quill may be responsible for the luck and fortune that it brought us. Now, I must make sure that I mention to Jack, Hayden's son, that I'm just holding on to this until the end of this stint here at Juma, and then it'll be sent back to England for Jack to safekeep for the next adventure. So Jack, don't worry, I'm looking after it, and it will be sent to you as soon as we're done here at the beginning of next year. Okay folks, these elephants have all drifted off but one or two, so I think we should continue and see what else we can find out there. I wasn't out this morning, as some of you may know that watched the morning session. Sadly, due to the weather and some technical issues, Mark couldn't get out, but he did answer some questions from you guys over the morning period. Where I'm going with this is that neither of us were out, so it's an unknown agenda for this afternoon. Very little is known in terms of what was seen this morning and what is out there, but like I said, there are quite a few game viewers out, so we should have some good intel from them in the coming hour or so, once they've done some exploring. Now we have some beautiful birds here that I've yet to show you personally. They are called the helmeted guinea fowl, and you will see why shortly. Very pretty birds, bright blue heads and that funny helmet-like crest, and incredible feathers and patterns on those feathers made up by all those little white spots. I can see four here. It could well be two individual pairs that are feeding together at the moment, but it is the time of year that they do pair off and go off on their own to raise their young. So hopefully in not too much longer we'll have tiny little guinea fowl to look at, and they're incredibly cute birds. Sadly quite high up on the menu, lots of different animals can feed on them, so you tend to find their clutches of chicks do dwindle fairly rapidly out here, but it shouldn't be too much longer before the chicks do hatch and we do get to see them. And then typically for the rest of the year these guinea fowl will stay together in larger flocks, more safety in numbers in terms of eyes. But when they do come to this time of the year, it is important for them to pair off and go and look after their chicks and tend to them individually, and I guess attract less attention to one another. If all of them were to nest in one place, they'd be literally putting all of their eggs in one basket. So it makes more sense for them to split up, have their nests in different areas, so that if one nest does get raided, it doesn't mean that the whole flock does not have any more young for that year. There's a fork-tailed drongo that's busy hunting amongst these guinea fowl, so keep an eye out for a small black bird darting through the screen. The southern grey hornbill calling in the distance. Let's get a little bit closer to these guinea fowl. You do get different kinds of guinea fowl throughout Africa, but the only ones we find here are the helmeted guinea fowl. You get also the vulturine guinea fowl, which is a very interesting looking bird. The crested guinea fowl, which reminds me a little bit of Lionel Richie back in his day. All of them are exquisite and quite strange looking birds, or unique looking rather. Now if we watch them closely, they're feeding predominantly on the grass seeds, so the little stems being shot up holding the seeds from the grass are what they're targeting. So they kind of grab onto the base of the stem and then slide their beak upwards, nibbling on all the seeds as they go. There's one feeding now. They stopped feeding, as I pointed out the fact, or how they are actually feeding at the moment, but they do seem to be trying to continue. Okay. Wonderful, so we went from a very big grey animal, the elephant, to a smaller grey animal, the helmeted guinea fowl. Both of them very pretty in their own rights, and both of them enjoying the food out in this clearing. Maybe would you mind turning that video off, just the button on the top there. Cool. So, just to keep you updated, folks, Alex, the director, is back, it sounds like. Or is this Alex, the Russian technical genius, giving me the question? Go ahead, Alex. John in Connecticut's just asked a question. Good afternoon, John. Whether an elephant's ever used its trunk to sniff me whilst being in the vehicle. And yes, it has happened a handful of times to me. They come up using their trunk and often put it on the dashboard. And once, only once ever though, one did put its trunk onto my arm, which was scary, as you can imagine, but the elephant was very relaxed. But when it gets to that stage of events, it does obviously make you start thinking twice about how much that damage they could do to you. Their size obviously becomes exponential as they take every step closer. But yes, Mark, they do, and they are inquisitive animals, and in certain instances, you know, where people have spent hours and hours with elephants and they've kind of built up bonds with them, elephants can be very inquisitive and almost emotional in the way they respond to humans. So a highly intelligent animal that does often like to investigate us by smelling with the trunk. I know Hayden had a few very close encounters in a positive sense of the word, and a very relaxed sense of the word close encounter, where elephants would actually smell the tire and smell the bonnet and the bull bar and the dash or the hood of the car. So There were some great clips of that. I'm sure they are in the archive somewhere, of the elephants sniffing the bull bar. But since I've been here, I haven't had any come too close to me. So as I was saying, folks, Alex, who is directing this afternoon, has headed off to help Mark and Jason with the broken down vehicle. And then Alex, who is the brains in the team and has been working for WildEarth for many years, the other Alex, the Russian Alex, is now taking over the directing. So very versatile team here that can chop and change at a heartbeat, which is required because we don't have any other options really. So Alex the director has switched into Alex the mechanic mode, and Alex the tech guy has switched into Alex the director mode. So just thought I'd keep you in the loops there as to what's going on behind the scenes. Sorry, could you just go name again with the name there, Alex? Brenda from Pennsylvania. Good afternoon, Brenda. Now, Brenda is asking, this is quite a cool sighting, if they continue to do it. Then we're a little bit more shy than the other helmeted guinea fowl we were viewing earlier, but there's a big pile of elephant dung. It doesn't look like elephant dung at the moment because these guinea fowl have used their feet to scratch it all apart and look for any bugs or also any little edibles in there that they can find to feed on. The elephant's digestive system is very poor, so they would have found quite a lot of partially digested tidbits that they can then feed on. So that's why it just looks like a massive manure as opposed to the individual elephant dung boluses that we're used to seeing. And in a few months' time, like I mentioned earlier, when the elephants start feeding on the marula fruits, we'll often see squirrels digging through these piles of elephant dung, trying to get to all those seeds, and those seeds house very, very tasty nuts, very nutritious, oily nuts, similar to that of a macadamia. So we've got that to look forward to in a few weeks' time. The squirrels stockpile these nuts and seeds and then can feed on them through the winter. Back to Brenda's question from Pennsylvania. Brenda asked how many offspring an elephant could give birth to in her lifetime. So, provided that it's one offspring that she gives birth to at each possible phase, if they live to about 60 years of age and they give birth every 3 to 4 years once they've started giving birth, and they'd probably start giving birth at around anywhere from 12 years onwards, depending on the individual, depending on how quickly they mature. So let's call it potentially 10 young in a lifetime over the kind of 40 to 45 year period that they are sexually mature, and they give birth every 3 to 4 years. They've got an exceptionally long gestation period, 22 months, so once you factor that into the equation and the time spent rearing a calf to an age where it's no longer reliant on milk and its mother, that gives you about 3 to 4 years intervals. So yeah, it would be interesting to keep track of closely how many young elephants can give birth to and how much it varies between individuals. But yeah, I'd say around 10 youngsters in a lifetime would be a successful life on the planet as an elephant. So we had some kudu in shot there earlier, and now we also have some impala. So two very different looking antelope. And we've got little baby impala. I'm just going to shoot forward a little bit. There's some baby impala coming through, displaying quickly, which will be great to show you guys. Oh, it looks like they may have stopped, but I'm sure more will come through. A few of them streamed in from left to right, so now they're... Oh, there goes one, pronking. Such an important ability to have is to show predators that you are healthy and fit and all your limbs are working well, and that's what these youngsters are doing. Impala typically do that pronking run when being chased by a wild dog. Okay, here come a lot now. Have you got them then, a dove? They're coming through. Not easy in this vegetation, but if we give it a few moments, I'm sure we'll get a lucky shot, a lucky break.
That was perfect.
Okay, good. Good stuff. Oh, cute. Now I'm sure they're going to come back again if we just wait a few moments. Yeah, it looks like they've turned around and maybe on the way back. Now all these eyes and ears allow the mothers to carry on feeding in relative safety and relaxation, whereas you can imagine if one was here on its own with its youngster, it would be a different story. So this is a perfect example of how safety in numbers benefits them, and you can tell now obviously they are in an open clearing, which also helps their safety because there's less obstacles that a predator could use as cover. Doesn't seem like the youngsters that we saw pronking along are coming back. So let's see if we can get another angle of them here. It's a bit too thick in here to capture their little pronking display, so we'll continue. Shame, I do really feel sorry for Mark and Jason. They got up at the crack of dawn this morning hoping to come out and entertain you guys on safari, and we're restricted to the final control, just answering questions. And now again he managed to start the drive. The vehicle was working 100%, and then as it was time for him to go exploring, it seemed to conk out, which is a pity. Jigger hasn't caused any problems in terms of its mechanics since we got here, so this is the first little glitch that we're experiencing for Jigger. Here we have a beautiful antelope, the male kudu. doing a combination of scratching his neck and feeding on that small jackalberry. It looks like small ebony tree. This is the largest antelope, and for me personally I think one of the most impressive antelope in Africa. But this is the biggest antelope we get in our area of operation here. In other parts of South Africa you may find eland, which are also parts of the spiral horned antelope family, and they are massive, probably twice the weight of these kudu bulls that we're looking at now. We'll carry on, folks, and again in this thicker vegetation. Oh, there, it's popped its head out now again. But they do tend to be feeding in the thicker vegetation, as they are browsers. How's it going? Good, good. How are you? Just another game viewer coming past. He is not on his own. I have noticed another one browsing. There does seem to be another one feeding, but it is not visible at the moment. And there could be 2 or 3 of them together. It's not uncommon for these kudu bulls to travel in small bachelor herds. Now, I do have bad news, folks. Jigger is apparently down for the rest of the afternoon. As far as we're aware, we're not sure what the problem could be there yet, but I just have got a message through saying that sadly they cannot seem to revive her. So it's just going to be you and me and the dove this afternoon. So let's hope for the best. Hopefully Mark and Jason's sacrifice to not come out will mean we get spoiled with something else. Like I say, I really am sorry for the 2 of them. They got up at 4 o'clock this morning and haven't managed to get out one to explore, which is what we're doing. So when weather or technical issues hold us back, it is frustrating. Okay. Now this, folks, is for Mark. It's something he pointed out to me the other day. So if he is in the final control, which I think he could be, we'll just show Mark this leopard orchid that's flowering in a dead leadwood tree. They are beautiful orchids, these, and not too many of them around, so I think he pointed out and just thought we could at least share it with him as a gesture of our Sadness to not have him out with us this afternoon. Very interesting plant, the leopard orchid. It has an air root system or an epiphytal root system, and all it's using this dead leadwood tree is as a base. It's not feeding on it or harming it anyway. As you can see, the leadwood tree is dead and could have been dead for 50 to 100 years by now. They grow incredibly slowly, and once they do eventually die, they don't fall down because the wood is exceptionally dense and solid. So they provide beautiful, beautiful, beautiful decorations for the African bush. And in this case, the cherry on the top is the leopard orchid, in flower at the moment. So I hope you enjoy that view, because I certainly do. Also in the fork of the tree, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see, but there is a small lizard climbing up the tree, and I know some viewers asked about lizards the other day. Well, I'm not sure if you can see it there. Can you see it? Just above the fork on the right hand side, on the second fork, once you've hit from the first fork. Oh, now it's gone. We may be a bit too far away, and again folks, I apologize, I don't have a monitor, so it's impossible for me to understand what exactly you guys are seeing. But there was a lizard called the stripe up that tree. Where exactly? Thank you. It really is a beautiful area that we're driving through now, and it's an area that the first time I drove past it, I could just imagine leopard lying in all these different hiding places. So now every time I drive past, it tends to be a slow affair with lots of scanning, looking for the leopard that I so hope will be waiting around one of these corners for us. But we've got something else, which is also a very beautiful animal, a big male Inyala. So I'm just going to try and get into position where Nadav will be able to film him coming past us. It's not looking too promising at this stage, but because it is very thick. But there is a little gap in front of us where you should be able to show you guys a good view of this animal. afternoon, go ahead. Thanks very much, Mark. Sorry about jig up. The cicadas are making a real racket just before we came around this corner. They might start all building up into a chorus again. You can still hear one going for it. Now those small insects that are exceptionally well camouflaged, and they're perching in this marula tree, and that is that strange almost electrical noise you can hear. I'm going to try and spot one, but like I say, they're exceptionally cryptically camouflaged, and the problem is if I do manage to spot one, guiding Nadav into it is going to be the next problem, but we'll give it a few moments to try. We've had a few viewers complain in the past that there's something wrong with the audio when we parked in the sighting because of this noise. So, for those of you who are new to us, that's just an insect you can hear, nothing wrong with the audio. We are approaching Twin Dams, so we'll have a quick look around here, see what's going on at this waterhole. You can see some zebra tracks heading down towards it and some buffalo tracks, and then a buffalo in the water. Looks like that boy's been maybe there for a while. He's stretching himself out. A very popular thing for these old buffalo bulls is spending the midday hours in the water holes, keeping cool. This individual's blind in the right eye. But even with one eye, he's managing to keep himself in good condition. A lazy afternoon chewing the cud. Not too much stress at the moment. I think things changed quite drastically for animals. A lot of the time they may be living in relative peace and harmony, but then, as you all know, when the lions or leopards pop up, they obviously fear for their lives. So interesting for them. The nights, I always wonder about being a potential prey item at night. That must be a hell of a thing, but I'm sure they do get used to it over the years. I'm hoping the zebra whose tracks headed down to the waterhole aren't too far from here. As we don't get too many zebra in this area of the Kruger National Park, it's nice to spend some time with them. There's also a herd that I saw, was it yesterday or the day before? With quite a few females that were heavily pregnant, so it'd be nice to monitor that herd because I'm sure we're going to have a bullshit. There are some tracks here that don't look very fresh. I'm just double checking them because just for interest's sake, but it does appear to be a lioness that walked down this road, but I don't think it was last night, potentially the night before. Sadly, with the way the camera is mounted, it's difficult to show you guys tracks along the side of the vehicle. Now I've heard a few rumors that there were some lion this morning on Shibam Road, so that is where we are headed, and with a bit of luck they will not evade us. Okay. Are there any updates on Ngala off Shibam Road? Okay, copy, thanks very much. Now the report that I've got, folks, is that the line that we're seeing this morning have crossed back into the property where we sadly do not have access to, but they were drinking, they had come to drink in an area that we can have access to. So even though they were seen heading back to the direction they had come from, where apparently they do have a kill, they could well come back to drink where they were seen this morning. So we're just going to check around here, and hopefully one or two of them are thirsty, and we'll head back to a few small water holes and pans that are just ahead of us. See, this little pan here, as uninviting as it looks to drink, is apparently where they were drinking this morning. But no sign of them here anymore. Potentially a little bit later they will come back to this water source. But for now, there is no sign of them. Oh, a vulture just took off from that tree. Evidently very full-bellied, or full-cropped. Its crop seemed extended and full of meat. Got a question that's come through from Brenda regarding chameleons, one of my favorites. Good afternoon, Brenda, and welcome on board. Chameleons, there's only one species that we get in this area called the flap-necked chameleon, and they basically have the ability to flap open their throat pouch, and it's a very bright orange color when they do hyperextend it, and that helps ward off any potential predators. The bright orange color is an aposematic color that tends to make animals nervous of consuming their prey. So hence the name flap-neck chameleons, and they get about that big in terms of body length, and the equivalent in tail, which is often curled up, especially when they're sleeping. There is a chance we could see one tonight with the floodlights and the flashlights. Certainly it is easier to spot them at night than it is during the daytime. So I will keep my eyes peeled for you, Brenda, and hopefully we'll manage to see one. They do have the ability to change their color, but some more so than others, I think, depending on the specific chameleon or species of chameleon. Some are born with a more colorful array or options in terms of what they can turn into, but the flap-neck chameleons here that I've seen can change colors quite drastically. Usually a yellowy mottled color when you find them crossing the road, black spots. Camouflage isn't necessarily color specific. It's often more the fact being able to change shades, different shades of color, which break up a body outline and therefore make it more difficult for predators to see. Sadly though, in order for chameleons to change color, it would require us to purposefully distress them. So that's not something I can necessarily show you, but what I'm planning on trying to do is spotting a chameleon at night with a spotlight, which is easier, as I've said, and then returning to that same bush the following morning and looking for it in that bush. There was a little emerald spotted wood dove that I thought was just going to sit for long enough for us to show you. So that is the plan, and then that way we can monitor it during the day, watching it hunt and just watching it go on with its daily routine, which would be quite fun. So if we find the chameleon tonight, tomorrow morning we'll do our best to find that same bush and then go and spend some time with it and gain some insight into how much they can change color and how often they manage to unleash their tongue at any potential insects, any potential prey. This is a beautiful bird. Can you see it perched here on a dove? Can you see it?
Where are you looking?
If you follow this tree that's growing towards us at the main fork where the branch bends down, it's sitting on that fork. So
what type of bird?
It looks like a ground scraper thrush. Very pretty bird, and I haven't seen one here. So you can see the tree, that's the one branch is growing towards us, yes?
Yeah.
Where that same branch forks and starts growing downwards, at the base of that fork. You got it?
Oh, yeah. I think I have a giraffe.
It is very cryptically camouflaged, but a beautiful bird. But I'm fairly sure it's a ground scraper thrush, but something is telling me that I could be wrong, and sadly my books are not on the vehicle. As Mark and I were going to swap vehicles today, so what I'll do is confirm, but I hope you guys have had a good view of this bird, because I haven't seen any since I've been here, and this does look like it could be a fledgling, because it is not showing too much confidence in its flying ability. Oh, I've just seen another one take off now. So they are little fledglings. And interestingly enough, I think what may be happening here is that I think I can see the adults, and I've also seen an African cuckoo. It's either an African cuckoo or a common cuckoo lurking about you. Now what could have happened is the common cuckoo adult may have laid its eggs in this thrush's nest, and then now the thrush has raised the cuckoo. So I just want to spend a bit more time here, because that'll be really interesting to see if we can confirm for sure that this ground scraper thrush has been parasitized. Again, folks, please bear with us due to the lack of monitor. I do not know what you guys are watching, which is not ideal, but it is what it is. Some good news: despite the broken monitor, Jigger is no longer broken, and Marcus somehow managed to fix it, so he'll be up and about shortly. Scott? I went to Twin Dams, and now then I drove along the break to Shabam Road. Dam. In the car. Well, that's great news, folks. I'm looking forward to hearing what happened. Mark is very handy when it comes to fixing vehicles. We had to fix one of the steering rods the other morning. Peter's car had taken a walloping during some off-roading, so Mark taught me one or two of his tricks, which is always great, being around people that can share knowledge with you out here. There's a tree squirrel alarming, again, could be anything, but important to bear in mind. All is very quiet here at Treehouse Dam. There's no weaver birds at their nests. There are two Egyptian geese wading along the side, but other than that, it seems eerily quiet. Which makes me wonder, do they know something we don't know? Animals that were in this area, that usually frequent this area. Copy. Come on, guide. Well folks, it is Nadav's last afternoon drive and he has made a special request, and it's something that I'm certainly happy to try and aid in this request, in that he would like to see a leopard on his last drive this afternoon. He will be out again tomorrow morning, but his last afternoon drive, which is a different ball game to the morning. So I mean, we keep our eyes open for anything and everything that is willing to present itself to us, but we've got a leopard in mind, and the lucky porcupine quill, kindly donated by Hayden, has been briefed on this afternoon's wish list. Well, here are some zebra, which we really did want to see earlier. Like I said, the tracks down to the waterhole got me excited. Just going to keep creeping forward. Well, this is a beautiful stallion that you're looking at now, and he's following quite a young female around, and I can't see any others, so it would be interesting to know what exactly is going on here. Let's see if we can get another angle. Come on. No. Maybe. This again is a good example of how camouflage doesn't necessarily have to be color orientated, like I mentioned with the scorpions earlier. So you wouldn't presume black and white being ideal colors to fit in the wilderness of Africa, but as I said, breaking up one's body shape and outline of a figure is critical, and that's exactly what these stripes do. They lead off in all different directions, some vertical, some horizontal, which makes it difficult for predators to lock on to a target like this, especially considering that predators have got sorry, I just had a message come through on the radio. Those animals. don't know if you want to hit that video on again. Try and get it as straight as possible. I'll do the sunset cruise. I'll just level the video camera itself. Yeah. But I don't know if you want to hit that video on again. Try and get it as straight as possible. I'll do the sunset cruise. I'll just let the video itself. Cool. Folks, well, there's some great news. Mark has headed out and double checked that the vehicle is in working order, so I think it's certainly with no further ado that we should switch over to him. We'll catch up with you later. Enjoy what he has to tell you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to one and all around the planet. Welcome to the Jigger this afternoon. We got to get out. Sorry, I'm just looking around. We're in the top of Mumba Road, very dense, both monkey orange and balanites and spikethorn. But a little road I haven't done before. Well, I haven't done for a number of years, so I wanted to come up this way. We're going to head up towards the sort of northeastern corner. My name is Mark. Jason is with me on camera, and as you know, Alex in final control. Our hurdles or our obstacles just became a little bit larger during the day. We woke up this morning and had a few hurdles for the beginning part of the day, and it just turned into a typical Monday. And I know for most people it's not a Monday, but for me, or for us it was, or for the Jigger it was a Monday. Every other day is a fun day, and today was our Monday. But we are now mobile. We're heading up, hopefully going to be kind to me going through the dip up onto Drakensberg, the view over the Drakensberg, which at the moment has got quite a nice sight. I'd like to get up there to have a look at that. I hope you had some fun with those elephants. I was sitting right in the middle of them, as it were, when they were crossing the road going onto the open area at quarantine. Jigger was dead in the water. Fuel line, dirty fuel. Eventually managed to take the fuel pump, or the fuel filter apart and get it sorted. So for now we're up and running, and I hope you're going to stay with us for a while. Like to hear from you wherever you are all over the world, and see what we can find for you this afternoon. While Scott's looking in another area, we're going to try and cover somewhere else. Typical of a very hot day. Yesterday was the change in weather this morning, and now once again the cloud burnt away for most of the afternoon. It became very hot and humid. The temperature spiking the way it is, sending animals into weird frames of mind. I don't know if any of you managed to see the Gowrie Dam cam this afternoon, our afternoon, probably around 2-3 o'clock. It was full of elephants and buffalo and some amazing interaction, intraspecific. lot of action from the Ellies. Happened to be my bad luck that I couldn't spend much time with them, but it's fun. They all came past and they all came to greet me, trying to work on the jigger, the vehicle, trying to get it fixed. The vehicle, trying to get it fixed. The entire herd wandered behind and past us. Giggled at me while I was fiddling in the engine. Ha ha ha! You and your mechanics, you human, you. Use your, they said. Bit difficult to carry the camera and all the equipment, so I'm lucky enough to get these wheels moving. Okay, and you shall find the problem. And at the same time, going through it. Looks like there's still a few weather changes along the way with the way the sky is looking at the moment, but it's par for the course. It is summer, we need it. I'm just going to see if we can get a good spot here, have a look. Just a reminder, we have the ability to answer questions. The wonderful thing about being live is being able to interact with everyone in the world, no matter where you are, through various forms of electronic media. Email, WildEarth TV. Oh, there goes an interesting bird. Have anybody identify it? Any of you birders out there? Hopefully he's going to sit still for me. Okay, playing games. I want to look at the sky, bird. I want to look at you, but he's flown off there. Maybe it's a little bit far now. A bit of a darker background. Turned its back on us, and is that what I think it is? No, it's chasing an insect or something. Well, good afternoon, Russell, from our afternoon. Good morning to you over there in Texas. Russell wanting to know just a brief, well, an idea of what we're doing temperature and humidity wise at the moment. As far as I'm aware, because little birdie told me in my ear, I would have said it's probably around 30. Temperature check from FC says 33 degrees Celsius, which I believe is about 91 degrees Fahrenheit. And since we don't have any other real gauges, I guess humidity is probably around 60-70%, maybe a little higher. This is what our sky looks like at the moment. A huge storm hard to really tell. But to the right of that beautiful flare of a pre-sunset glow, we have cloud, very, very deep cloud. Must be quite a big storm that has been moving. The escarpment, the Drakensberg Mountains run along well, far in the distance. We can't see them because they're obscured by the storm. But this whole storm is moving up along the escarpment to the north. Hopefully it's going to expose the sunset when it is setting. And from this, where the sun is now, moving towards the south, we've almost got blue skies, beautiful blue skies. Alex just letting me know that it is 64% the humidity. But now we've also got something behind us towards the east, but I think that's way into the Kruger Park. Beautiful view here. We need to be here for a sunset one of these days with a leopard or something. Had Karula and her cubs spending time up here. There was an old network of burrows. She actually had the cubs in the burrows at some point. Probably old aardvark or maybe warthog burrows. Take a rather old road. Oh, look, there's a black-bellied coron. I wonder if you can. Old extension of Drakensberg Drive. Raisa is the first to come back with the long-tailed shrike on the bird earlier. A beautiful long-tailed bird, magnificent birds. They've got such a wonderful liquid call that they mostly only call in the rainy season. They're kind of communal birds. They live in family groups usually, and very often when the rains are coming you'll get all of them calling, and that lovely shark call, and their tails move as well, long tails. Look, there's a water buck. Ow, ow, ow. You're being bitten by a snake. I mean, it's a fly, not a snake. Hello, Madam Waterbuck. She's now getting self-conscious because she's on camera. Very unusual that we have this antelope in Africa that is so fluffy in such a hot climate. Well, perhaps some part of that is insulation. I think it's called a waterbuck more because it's always associated with water rather than because they sometimes enter the water. But predominantly one finds they are invariably around pools or dams. You can see some more of them off to the left. They're moving deeper into the bush. I don't know if you can see any of them now. There was another couple of females. They're probably going to come out on cheetah cutline a little bit later, when it's because they'll need to get out into the open, either this open area or up on cheetah cutline. And contrary to popular myth or belief, lion do kill them. Their meat isn't that distasteful. They do have a subcutaneous oil that they secrete. It gives off a very strong scent, and it is supposed that it taints the meat and it stops lions from hunting them, but that's not really that true, because I think in pretty much every camp I've lived in where there's resident waterbuck, there's invariably going to be a waterbuck kill in front of somebody's tent or room, and they're going to be stuck there for hours. Something that has happened on numerous occasions in Botswana or Tanzania. We might catch up with them. We're on a road that kind of loops around. I'm going to do a loop around, so we might catch up with them if they come out onto our eastern boundary. There's a race for sunset. Oh, MJ Bradley. Hi MJ, nice to hear from you. Haven't seen you haven't seen MJ since she was visiting us here in South Africa. MJ asking what's my favorite bird, where is it found? Well, let's see. There's one. No, I better not go there. I'll get into trouble. I was thinking of there's Pam and Rose and Fabienne and well, yes, no. But my favorite feathered bird. Favorite feathered bird. Gosh, that is really hard. The whole favorites thing is a hard thing because everything is my favorite. That which I'm with at the time is my favorite. I think I'll have to think about that one, MJ. If one had to say what's my favorite animal, I would think that it's the elephant, but it's not necessarily so, because it is my favorite. It is. I see a giraffe in our near future. Two giraffes, mama and dad, 3 giraffes, mom, dad and baby. Hello, mama giraffe. He's going to just stop here and they're all going to come through. Okay. Oh, he's magnificent. And there's the little one. There's Dad and his little one. Come little one. Follow your father. Oh look, she's coming to say hello. Hello Mrs. G. And they're going to cross this drainage line. They're on a mission. Maybe about a, I'd say 6-8 month old calf. Hello old man. And here comes a little boy who was probably one of the first calves or a previous calf. Interesting how they're getting across that little drainage line. They might also move up to Cheetah cut line. Hey little boy. Just tagging along behind the family. It's wonderful to actually have a family group like this. But probably the bull is only here because he's and it's maybe why she's moving the way she's moving, is he's probably pushing her. I can hear a black-bellied bustard too, making its wonderful noise. Probably he's trying to get close to her to try and give her a sniff and test whether she's going to be coming into estrus at all. I'm not too sure of the estrus cycle, but I would imagine she's still a few months away if this little one is still quite young. Oh, here comes another female. She's just... That might have been her son, actually. The little boy. Might have been hers. She has no choice but to follow everyone. I thought I heard some crunching, some twigs breaking on our left. Very awkward going through this kind of terrain. It's almost jumping across the drainage line. Also a very sensitive spot for giraffe. Lions tend to learn how to hunt giraffe in areas like this where they're likely to fall. But there's something on their agenda, and we're going to be, as I said, we're going to be doing a loop. Oh, they're browsing. Now they're turning to browse now. I'd love to stay with them, but they've moved. The bull and the other female have moved deeper in, and we're not going to see them. We can't see them anymore. Favorite bird? Okay, probably maybe the black eagle or the Vero's eagle. I think maybe that could possibly be one of them. I haven't spent that much time with the crown eagle, but I think it's a bird as well. And as an eagle person, the harpy eagle is probably the most majestic and just the most impressive eagle of all eagles. And one can't help but admire the fish eagle, Africa's king of the skies as he's known. The call of the fish eagle is so distinct, and it's almost synonymous with giraffe and zebra and lion and elephant as the sort of iconic feature of the African bushveld. So the fish eagle is another one. But then there are other birds, smaller birds, that are equally fascinating, and the fork-tailed drongo, I think, for its tenacity, for its boldness, for its cheekiness, and for being the comic of the feathered world, I think the fork-tailed drongo, as you mentioned there. Oh, hello. Wait, you're going the wrong way, dude. Come, I'll whisper in your ear. They went that way. Ah, somebody loves giraffes. Hot Giraffes on Twitter. At what age do young male giraffes leave the family group? I think he's looking for them maybe too. Unless there are more, there could be more. Lots of the oxpeckers on him. Hot giraffe, loves giraffes. I will tail him. Tail that tail. Put a tail on him. Hot giraffes question. What age? I think about 2, I reckon. I don't know, I can't remember. I think probably about 2 years old. 3 years old. Join up with bachelor groups. I'd say anywhere from 2 to 4. It's not like a very particular, a certain age. The day comes and Mom says, well son, today's your birthday. Today you've got to leave the family. Sorry. Goodbye. Have a nice life. I'll see you in passing. Trees. We're going to follow him as much as we can when he eventually gets to the big main road area where we have to stop following if he crosses that road because we're not allowed to go there. But as much as the others were on some sort of mission in the opposite direction, he seems to be on a mission in this direction. He'll stop and browse at some point, probably even now, turning into the bush. And it's times like this that things become interesting. Unfortunately, one can't always follow them all the time, and one eventually has to move on. Like now, he's turned off the road. He's heading in, stopping, listening, but we can catch him on the main road. If he carries on in that direction, we'll actually have him crossing the main road. I'll quickly zip around onto the main road. We're not far from it, probably about 50 yards. But whereas for us there's this wall of green up till about maybe 10 feet, he is probably a good 5-6 feet taller than that. As you can see, he can see way over the tops of all of these trees. So I think he's aiming for other giraffe. I think he's probably been looking for others, and maybe now, having found them, he's making his way to them, or he's trying to find a vantage point. Look, could even be that he's looking for this family. Now stopped just on the edge of the main road, and it's very open there, so he's looking up and down. You can try and get there to watch him come out. I think the giraffe is probably one of the most unusual. Okay, I'll get there in a minute. Question. Hal in Rapid City. I guess that's Rapid City. Where's that? Michigan. Hal wanting to know if these are Rothschild giraffe. No, Hal, they are not. Rothschild giraffe only occur in a little area of Kenya, up near Nairobi. A place called Giraffe Manor that breeds and that has Rothschild giraffe. It's a lovely guest house just outside Nairobi, out towards Karen and the Langata Road. Giraffe Manor, where they've been raising Rothschild giraffe for decades. Moving back a little bit. Definitely looking for giraffe. Just try and roll back. This is the southern giraffe. How? There are several different types of giraffe. Down here south, I'd say south of entire southern Africa, we have known as the southern giraffe, and quite interestingly, a variety of different patterns that you can find within the same herd of giraffe in the same group. Further north, up in Kenya, apart from the Rothschild, which is a threatened, if not endangered species, that we found very tiny, have the articulated giraffe up in the northern parts of Kenya, in an area known as the Mara, or rather the Meru National Park. Further down south in northern Tanzania and going down towards the Selous Game Reserve, you have the Maasai giraffe, and the southern giraffe extends up into southern Tanzania. But it's debatable. There is a huge debate over the number of different subspecies, if not different species. It's very difficult to do. I suppose genetically they're trying to establish this for once and for all. He's now going through quite a drainage line. I don't know if maybe we should turn around. We'll maybe come out at twin dams even. It's quite likely. I hope we get a signal. I think we'll just turn around. I'd like to watch and see where he goes. We don't get to spend very much time with giraffes. And they're incredible creatures. When you think about it, there's animals that can reach just under 20 feet tall, with a neck, a very long neck and a tiny little head. You know, might as well be mammals answer to dinosaurs, or if the mammals answer to the brontosaurus. Can you imagine the first people who were the pioneers who first going back to Europe? I don't know what's going to happen in this dip. Well, he's given up his search and he is browsing. Oh, he's moved. I'm looking in the book because I've got an example of all the different giraffes for how he's coming across. Pity we didn't get a signal in the riverbed because but he's coming up towards twin dams and towards these mud wallows. Maybe he'll go and drink. Maybe he'll no, I'll try not to. I think there might be a bit of rain, might be a drizzle. Probably. A lot of this is Hello, Jennifer. I've seen leopard kills in this leadwood. One of Karula's daughters, I think it was Tundi, was Saseka. Tundi had a leopard kill in this. The Matinga lions killed here on several occasions. The big male lion. And he's a little bit lower than us, so we're going to be able to get fairly nicely with his head, maybe.
Hello everyone. Being out in the bush and being out there live has its Hello everyone. Being out in the bush and being out there live has its technical challenges. We're experiencing some of that now and are working on it as fast as possible to get it sorted and get you back on the vehicle with us. Hello everyone. Being out in the bush and being out there live has its technical challenges. We're experiencing some of that now and are working on it as fast as possible to get it sorted and get you back on the vehicle with us.
Very iffy with signal, so I'm glad he like as we do. And yes, the answer is yes, they are mammals. All mammals have 7 vertebrae in the neck, 7 cervical vertebrae. Except for bush babies. I think bush babies, there's something about bush babies because they don't have, their eyes cannot turn in their sockets. So they have to turn their heads. So there's something special about their vertebrae. Their cervical vertebrae. If I'm able to find you some giraffe vertebra, especially cervical vertebra. I know where there was a kill many years ago. There might still be some vertebrae lying around. Would be interesting to see. He's looking at twin dams. Maybe we need to go and try and get there and watch him come down to drink. We might get a signal issue or rather we'll get a signal issue when we try and move now, but that's not too much of a problem. But it'll be nice to be able to find you some vertebrae. buffalo skull right here. From one of the kills, I remember sitting almost right here watching lions, 5 big male lion eating that buffalo. Okay, let's try and keep up with him. I think he's maybe. Slowly taking it towards him. I think sure that danger ahead. Maybe make sure that there's no danger ahead. Maybe he's just being cautious, and could be that maybe there were some cats around. Than in general. I mean, giraffes get very wary when they come to water because they're highly vulnerable when they Speaking of drinking, cheers everyone, having some giraffe on my head. Speaking of drinking, thirsty. Been a long day. So get my head out of the way. Still looking good. Those bulges that you see above his eyes on his forehead are calcium deposits. They, for the size of animal that they are, and for the size of the bones that they have, their body has to produce a lot of calcium to maintain bone strength. And over years you get these calcium deposits that build up on the forehead. Can be a sign, not can be, but it is a sign of age. I mean, this is a bull in his prime. Age-wise, I couldn't tell you. It'd be nice to look at his teeth and see how worn they are. He's eating on what we call a buffalo thorn at the moment. It's probably one of the sweetest leaves that are around here. Highly palatable leaf. Hence the thorns that have developed on the tree. You get a curved thorn and a hook thorn on the buffalo thorn. But despite these very, very harsh thorns, he's able to wrap his tongue and his lips around them, and he'll press the branch against his palate with his tongue and strip all the leaves, and the thorns won't even affect him. To get back to Hal's question, maybe while he's browsing there, just have a quick look while there's still a nice little bit of light. Just want to give you an idea of all the different giraffe patterns that we get, all the different subspecies throughout the continent. 3, 6, 9, this is sort of 12 different patterns on these giraffe. Sorry. Square it up a little bit. This is the reticulated. The reticulated giraffe up in northern Kenya is very distinct. Rothschild this would be Rothschild here. If I'm not mistaken. Let's see, that is number P4. No, CA7. Where is the key to that? Oh, there. CO. Out up there in northern Kenya, Ethiopia. And that would be Cotonia. Yebo. Brenda in Pennsylvania. Hi Brenda. Do giraffe ever have twins, and do they mate for life? Well, they won't mate for life because you very seldom have males spending extended periods of time with female groups and their offspring. Mainly because the males tend to go off on their own. You might find males or bulls together. You might find small bachelor groups where very much younger males are learning from these older bulls the techniques of fighting. And we can get back to the techniques for fighting for giraffes. So mating for life, no. However, what was the other part of the question? I forgot already. I got so busy with that. Do they have twins? That's a charade. Charade. Do they ever have twins? I don't think so. I would like to find out if it has ever been documented. Might be. Not to my knowledge. The division of resources and the carrying two would be quite a thing for a female. Plus, they would both be born very, very small and very vulnerable. But having said that, elephants have given birth to twins. It's not very common for elephant to give birth to twins, but it has happened. It does happen. He's now looking at a bunch of impala that are coming down to the open patch just above Twin Dam itself, and we'll leave him to feed on this buffalo thorn for a little bit. Unfortunately, the cloud won the race for sunset. When we looked at that lovely sky earlier, it was almost exactly half-half. Where the sun was setting, from the sunset to the north was all cloud, and from the sunset south was was what appeared to be blue sky on the way. And unfortunately the cloud won because there's a little bit of a glow towards the west, but not as the spectacular sunset that I thought there would be. And well, tomorrow's another day for a sunset, but we have had this wonderful opportunity to spend time following him, and we haven't finished yet. I want to see, he's going to go to the water. The impala are all coming down to the water. And I think he will feel, as long as the impala are around, he will feel a lot safer in going to the water because he's got a lot more eyes around. And there was zebra too. We're getting everybody coming in. So what I'm going to do is we're going to leave him browsing on that buffalo thorn. And I'm going to try and get up here on the dam wall. We can watch the show. There are buffalo here as well. This is a wonderful afternoon, late afternoon, early evening. And a waterhole here in Africa. It might be difficult to watch him approach, but how level is that? Yeah. Very beautiful scene of peaceful scene. Everybody's just doing their own thing. Safety in numbers. The impala have come out, zebra have come out, giraffe, I hope we'll see that there are a number of, yep, he's looking this way, number of other things around that make him feel a lot safer. You often find giraffe and zebra together. they complement each other when it comes to danger. They're not in competition for the same food, so they don't need to worry about that. But the giraffe with his head above the trees can get a better idea of long distance danger, whereas the zebra are very well skilled in listening out for danger. They don't see as well as some of the other things do, like impala maybe, but zebra are pretty astute. They've got a good sense of smell, good sense of hearing. And sense of hearing can be very important when it comes to predation, or being aware of predators, because you're not necessarily listening for the predator, you're listening for other things reacting to the predator. There's actually so much happening here at the moment. The geese, or the gucks, the Egyptian geese, are swimming past the buffalo. There are impala rams sparring, two youngsters sparring next to the dam, on the other side of the buffalo. Hello Josie. Josie sending a question on Twitter, wanting to know why zebra have not been domesticated. I think because zebra have a mind of their own. But the key word in the question, Josie, is domesticated. It takes generations of animals to a zebra that have been raised by people and have become quite accepting of humans. A little bit. Those other two boys, or they're not. No, they're not fighting anymore. I think it took a long time for horses to be domesticated, or to accept domestication. But gosh, I don't really know. It's not something we could really ascertain with any certainty. It's just that they, despite the fact that they've been hand reared and they're accustomed to people and they appear tame, and I don't like you use the word tame. I'll use in the past, or that people have tried. And there's an ancient black and white photograph of an ox wagon that had about, I don't know, maybe half a dozen to a dozen zebras spanned in as though they were a horse-drawn carriage, or sort of multi-horse-drawn carriage. But they don't have an idea how to work together. They don't. I think perhaps they're not as intelligent as horses. But maybe it's not that. Maybe they don't quite know what humans want out of them. I'm just doing chores. They don't take to being beasts of burden. Sadly, it's a horrible term, I know, but that, I think, is the stallion. Not I think, it is the stallion. He's very alert. He's heard something. I was talking about hearing, and it's not necessarily the predator, but it's the sound of birds either alarming, or the sound of crickets that stop singing, the sound of maybe twigs snapping. There are a number of sounds that can alert an animal to the presence of a predator. But it's in particular, it's the alarm calls that other animals make. And so hearing is a very, very important sense when it comes to not being eaten. He who senses the predator first is the first one to get away, and the least likely to be caught. And if you're the one giving off the alarm call, and you're the one that sees it, you can be sure that the predator's not going to go for you, because the element of surprise is gone. He's gone. haven't noticed, but our giraffe has, maybe he's moved around those bushes. But he seems to have moved off. Very heavy cloud that suddenly come over us. Actually moving away. Gonna dump a bit of water. Having that feeling that there is a bit of rain in the air. A lovely zebra foal there. I wonder if they're going to drink. Sorry, you were on the buffalo. I should have been watching. The boys are getting ready to go out and they've had their day in the water, and now it's time to go and replenish those stomachs. Or at least replenish the stomach with fresh grasses. One of the reasons why animals get very nervous in wind and stormy weather is because that sense is then no, you can't hear a thing anymore, and or rather you can't hear those subtle sounds. Oh, it looks like that little drink. And this weather is turning a little bit, and they are far less relaxed than they were. Seems like she's pushing the other foal away, keeping two foals separated. That little one wants to play, I'm sure. There we go. Game on. No. Stallion's not happy, he's taking them away. That could be something coming this way. Very interesting. Very interesting. A little bit far from where the kahumas were earlier today. They were up on the other side of Treehouse Dam. But with this weather they could have even moved this way. Treehouse Dam would have been closer if they wanted water. Or maybe it's something else. The impala haven't sensed anything yet. But something made the zebra uneasy. There was something that... there was also the blacksmith lapwing, or the blacksmith plover that was here, started just chirping a little bit. The impala have all stopped. They've all listened. They're listening. No, not much happening. There's a 2-year-old at the bottom right of the picture. The zebra were looking, and that's why
Welcome back, folks. Sadly, we don't have too much to report. Just been looking around for any signs of excitement or action, and haven't seen much. But it is that time of the evening when hopefully the nocturnal animals have started to stretch their legs and think about getting active again, so we're hoping to bump into something. There have been a lot of leopard tracks in this area we've been driving through, not only this morning or yesterday, but over the course of the few weeks that I've been here, so it appears to be a popular area for them. And we're hoping to get lucky. But I've got to spend some time and some giraffe. I heard it was a very pretty sighting, and just the fact that Mark managed to fix the vehicle is a great thing. So all in all, I'm happy with that situation. Just been thinking back to that elephant sighting we started the drive with. It really was spectacular. I looked back at one or two of the photos that I snapped off, and glad I did, because that is a memory, and I'm glad there's a picture to remind me of it when I'm an old man. Now, Nadav, the cameraman, has got an interesting equipment that he's such an old man. Now, Nadav, the cameraman, has a piece of equipment he's pulled out, and he's trying to use it as a thermal imaging camera. So, despite the thick vegetation we're driving through, it's up any seas in the bushes, so if a leopard was lying down behind any of that, we would know all about it. So, be an idea of that's a good idea. So, again, an example of how the made us out. The other night when we were driving home, Nadav managed to see some wildebeest, a herd of elephants that we would have otherwise had no idea they were there. So, really cool piece of equipment that. No idea they were there. Really cool piece of equipment. The wind has picked up a little bit, so I'm not sure if we are going to get some rain later. The clouds look okay for now, but when the wind picks up, it tends to mean the change of weather is on the way. We're rolling. I don't think for now, it's just us getting back to the camp where we stay maybe become a problem. All part of the adventure though. Alright, left one's a knob thorn and the other is a buffalo thorn. So, squeeze in. So we're quite close to the Gowrie Dam, the Wuyatela Dam. So I think we're just going to go and park there for the last 10 minutes and see what happens. Potentially we'll get some of the hippos starting to head out of the water. Should be nice. If not, we'll just see what's going on. There was some buffalo there earlier when I drove past. I think there was also a giraffe in the distance, so there's a number of suspects who we could bump into there. There's a red-chested cuckoo calling very aggressively all of a sudden, non-stop, one call after the other. There it goes again. Got a bit of a problem here, guys, and that I would like to try and what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry on driving past the dam, because it appears like the hippo have already left, so we may as well use this time to look for something else. Driving past the dam, because it appears like the hippo have already left, so we may as well use this time to look for something else. Welcome back, folks. Sorry, there was another crash there. I'm not sure what the problem is today. Got some buffalo crossing the road up ahead here. Big old bulls. Now they're coming out of an area of riverbed that we spend a fair amount of time on foot looking for leopard. The leopards love this drainage line that runs down from Wuyatela Dam, so good to take heed and take note that there are buffalo that do spend time in these riverbeds, as they often do, but it just reminds us of the dangers that there are when you do leave the vehicle on foot. Well folks, the good news is that as of tomorrow, both myself and Mark will be out on the morning drives and the afternoon drives, so I'm looking forward to those 3 days where we both in it from dusk till dawn. So just to remind some of you who may not have heard or are new with us, from Monday to Thursday we will only have one of us out in the morning, and then Friday, Saturday and Sunday it'll be both Mark and myself out every morning and every afternoon. So a little bit of a change there. Now we've got 5 minutes to try and find a chameleon, and I am scanning the bushes, and the plan is, for those of you who joined us recently, somebody earlier asked if we could try and chameleon. They then asked about how they camouflage, how much they can change color. Now the way to see them changing color would be during the day, but the best time to find them is at night with the help of these spotlights. So by find at night we can return in the morning to the same bush and try and film it during the day and just monitor how much they do change color. Ideally we'd be able to see one hunting, that would be really cool, but like into that it can try and catch. It's a bizarre thing that it's easier to spot chameleons at night than during the daytime, but basically what you're looking for is a slightly different shade in what would otherwise be a uniformly colored bush. So typically most of the vegetation out here is a uniform green color, be it light green or dark green, and the chameleon will typically show a lighter shade than the tree it's sitting in at night. So you're essentially looking for a whitish color, the shape of a chameleon. Brenda in Pennsylvania, thank you Alex in the control. Right, so we might be able to spot some on our way out, and that way show you first thing in the morning. Come on chameleon, where are you hiding? It's funny, some nights you drive and you can see like 4 or 5 within a very short stretch of road, but as that's the bush and that's how it is out here, it can be the same for all the animals we see. You go through stages when around every corner you come you get lucky, and others when things are a little bit more quiet. Come on, little chameleon. Well folks, thanks very much for joining us this afternoon, and for those of you who were here from the start of the drive, well, I hope you thoroughly enjoyed that elephant sighting, because I really did. My best elephant sighting with adults since I've been here on Juma working with WildEarth, and already have a list of memorable sightings, but that is up at the top there. And like I said, I had some technical difficulties with Jigger early on, which is a pity, so glad that he managed to get that up and running, and it's nothing major. So as of tomorrow, like I said, we'll both be on the morning drive, and we look forward to exploring this beautiful wilderness with you. So folks, from myself and Nadav, thanks for joining us on safari this afternoon, and we hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you may be. See you tomorrow morning.